before we get started and I pass it over to Claudia to facilitate this meeting, I do want to add something real quick. So I had a couple of you reached out about what happens with the blogs. Like, do they get archived, stuff like that? So my suggestion is that you take all of the contents, the photos that you created, and you develop a your own free website, like a Wix or a Squarespace, something simple, where you can host your blogs and then you can link all that stuff to you can include all that in your resume. For someone from the outdoor field to have a resume, online resume with like your programs, your things that you did, it will make you stand out so much. It's something that a lot of people, a lot of folks in this career aren't really doing, and I think it would just make you stand out a lot. So that's my suggestion. There's a lot of ways to do it. Yeah, what's up, Sarah?
I just have a question on how to get the blogs from your website onto ours. Like, how do we copy and paste, or is it just the same link? What do you do?
No, you'd have to copy and paste. I mean, you have all the original photos, and you can just copy the content and paste it um, on whatever new website you're going to be using.
Okay.
Um, so a lot of the builders that are out there, they're very similar to the one that you use for WordPress. So being familiar with that, like drop in the copy, drop in the photos, it'll be very similar, so you won't struggle too much.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. That's my suggestion. I think that's a good way to kind of highlight the work that you did. And so, yeah, if you have any questions about that type of direction or anything about that, moving your stuff over, just let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna hand it over to Claudia, and so she can present your stuff.
Thank y'all for joining. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and we're gonna get started with Ivan, our first presenter today. And I'll turn it over to you, Ivan, whenever you're ready. Go ahead and get started.
Hello,
Nice.
everyone. My name is Ivan Murillo Abalos, and I was working at Padre Island National Seashore for the summer. Okay, next slide. Um, okay, so Padre Island, so on the next slide, I have maps of the island, and I really wanted to talk about Padre Island National Seashore because I've never been here before, and it's located a few miles off South Texas coast. It protects the mainland, right? So it's the world's longest undeveloped stretch of barrier island, which makes it really cool. Um, so yeah, so you can see the left photo, it's just the whole island, and on the top is the visitor center and the beaches, right? So on the right, I have the much more in-depth photo or much more in-depth map. And another cool thing about Padre Island, it's a prime nesting beach for the endangered Kemp's Ridley sea turtle and a stopover for migrating birds. Kemp's Ridley, wanted to just talk about a little bit about that because it's sea turtles. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people come to Padre Island National Seashore. Kemp's Ridley, it nests during the day, and unlike other sea turtles that nest pretty much during the night, and that's during April to July, and they lay about 2 to 3 clutches per season, and they'll return to that beach every 1 to 3 years. And Padre Island National Seashore, we've had 690 nests counted so far at in the National Seashore, and each nest holds about 100 eggs. So it's a lot of eggs. Um, which is really, really cool. There's a lot of things to do here. So you can see on the right, the map, you have the labels of South Beach on the bottom and North Beach. So people can go to South Beach, they can go to Malachite Beach, they can go.
Are you
Okay,
there, Ivan?
sorry about that. I'm back. I should be back. Okay. And I wanted to highlight just the park itself and how big and massive the whole area is. So people can actually drive onto the beach through South Beach, and they can drive all those 60 miles that you can see on that left photo of the map. The first 5 miles are open to all vehicles, and then anything past the fifth mile marker is 4x4 recommended. So that's one thing people like to do here as well, and camping on the South Beach. Um, but that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about and highlight out of these two slides. Um, and then the next slide. Next slide, next slide.
Is it showing the next slide?
It is. It says, what did
Okay,
I do?
great.
The next slide shows what I did. So I primarily, so I have the touch box. Touch box. People would come into the visitor center, and I would talk about the touch box. And touch box is pretty much just a big old box that holds everything or most a lot of excuse me, a lot of things that were washed up on the shore for the last 15 20 years, and visitors can touch it, they can hold it, they can feel the texture, put their ear up to a shell. And whenever there was people coming up to the box, I would immediately go over there and I would talk to them. I would let them know what that item is, where it was found, and they have a possibility to find it there, which was really, really cool. Stats. So I would have to drive to specific locations like South Beach, North Beach, like I mentioned, and they have recorders where they count all the vehicles coming in. So I would reset a button in that machine, that recorder, and then I would also fill up to you bags. So I have photos of the up to you bags, of the empty hook. Sometimes it would be empty, sometimes it would be half full, and I would go back and refill them all. I would put them on my finger in the car because it was hot. So I'd put them in my finger in the car, and then I would go out and put them on the hook. And that was a cool little tip that one of the interns here, Tony, SCA intern, uh, taught me how to do. Bird table. So right below that, I have photos of me at the bird table where I had a chance to talk about the birds and distinguishing features where we would draw and color our bird masks. Beach roves. So I would walk on the beach with either a shell or a very peculiar item to grab people's attention and get them to talk to me, and I will let them know what that item is. And so that's where I got a lot of my visitor interactions were from the touch box and being in the visitor center. Visitor center duties, which would be to just talk to the visitors, greet them, and restock. And so people would come in and look at that big old map and ask about if they can drive on the beach, ask if they can camp, ask if they can fish, just your general questions, and I would let them know. I attended an aquatic wild workshop, which was really cool. It's a supplementary education program developed by the Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies to teach students about wildlife, aquatic ecosystems, and environmental stewardship. So that was really fun. Hatching releases, Junior Ranger Day I participated in, which was Tony's program. I pledged a couple Junior Rangers. I did the Learn to Surf program at Padre Island that they had established here, and a Learn to Bird program that I created. And I'll talk about those in the next slide. And zero ticks, no ticks. Got no ticks. Was good. Okay. Next slide.
Hey Ivan, I think your internet's being slow. We're on what did I learn?
Can you hear us, Ivan?
Okay, well, might have to come back to him then.
I think he got kicked out.
Yeah.
Okay, say that
I
again.
think
I'm gonna switch to a different computer just so I don't get kicked out again. Kicked out again. I'm sorry.
No worries. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I hit the link.
Oh, unmute. Okay.
Can
Okay,
you hear
hello?
us?
Yeah, I can
Oh
hear
yeah.
you.
Perfect. We got you. Take it away.
Sweet. Okay, so what did I learn? A lot about Padre Island National Seashore because I've never been here before. So that was the whole park was just a new experience and new information that I learned about. Same thing with sea turtles. I didn't know much about sea turtles. I'm a bird person, right? So anything that was about sea turtles was new for me. So that was fun. And then currents and the tides. And you can see in the photo, it's kind of hard to see, but in the top left, there's a little, says you are here. And that's where, yeah, so that's where Padre Island National Seashore is. And you can see the currents, how all the currents pretty much point to that direction. What I learned is that we're pretty much in a big old bowl, and because I'm from the West Coast, and the West Coast it's not in the bowl; it's just a straight shot to the shore and to the mainland. Here, you can see how we're surrounded by how Texas is surrounded by the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea, the Yucatan. You get currents from Florida, so the currents and the tides pretty much dictate how the beach is gonna how the waves are gonna go, if anything's gonna be washed up on the shore, and a lot of people would call about the tides and the currents and the beach conditions. I also learned about networking, so being able to talk to different people and visitors coming in, talking about, oh, where's the best spot for this? Where's the best spot for this? And talking about how they're able to go and find those things. That was new for me. Shells, sea beans, those two were just part of beach combing. So whenever I had breaks or my lunch break, I would go out and beachcomb, and that was super fun for me. Learned a lot about sea beans and how they use the currents and the tides to travel, as well as use the sargassum, this algae that comes from the sargassum sea, to travel to different areas from the trees and the vines that those sea beans, that those seeds travel through. So that was really fun. A lot of visitors would come in and ask us, oh, what's this sea bean, or where does this come from, and would let them know if we have it in our touch box, and they would go and check it out, or we can figure it out where that sea bean came from. Surf fishing. Um, I've never fished at the beach, and that was really interesting because you'll be trying to cast, and then you see the waves just coming in and hit you in your knees, and I'm almost like getting taken away from the waves. Super fun. It doesn't sound fun, but it was fun. And then blogging. I never blogged before, so blogging was one thing that um, I really learned about. Okay. Real quick, favorite part was working with the youth. I had a lot of fun working with the kids and pretty much teaching them about birds and binoculars and the environment and how to be great stewardships. The beach was always fun. Birding, of course, and then talking to people and hearing their stories was super fun as well. Okay. Challenges, stepping outside my comfort zone. I've never been in a position where I had to greet people like every single day and greet them as they're coming in, and then greet them as they're leaving as well, telling them to have a good day. That was new for me. The weather, because it would get hot and sometimes it would be really rainy, so or stormy. Internet at the island, as you can to witness, being away from San Antonio and establishing myself with the community, being in a new area, that was very difficult. And I just want to say thank you to everyone at the AFTA. This opportunity was amazing. I wouldn't exchange it for anything else. I had a lot of fun in Colorado. I had an amazing time here at Padre Island, and it's sad that I'm leaving because I feel like there's more I can bring to the seashore and more programs that I would want to develop and birding program. Um, this spot is amazing for birding, even if it's not in prime time birding conditions. You know, either way, you're still gonna see something that you may not see. And just yesterday, people were, or I guess now, and it's ongoing. People have spotted and are seeing the Arctic tern, which is really nice. Yep, yep, Claudia, which is really cool. I know, and I'm not gonna. It's I wish I could see it, but it's not gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen. But obviously, thank you to everyone at the Padre Island National Seashore. They were nothing but great for me. They were awesome. They really made me feel like part of the team with welcome aboard sign that I thought was super nice and super cool. Um, it was great. I'm definitely gonna come back to visit them and see how things are going here. But I thank everyone here and everyone at EFTA.
Great job, Ivan. I think we're all
Yeah.
wondering, did you get to see a green jay though?
Yes, yes, I get to see a green jay, of course. You can't go to South Texas and not have that on your things to do in South Texas. There's no way.
Way to go. Way to go. Super proud of you. Thanks for a great presentation.
Oh, I tried. Yes, thank you.
Great job. Okay, up next we have Lucas Fisher. Lucas, whenever you're ready, you can take it away.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, my name is Lucas Fisher. I'm at Picture Rocks National Lakeshore. Next slide. So I didn't get to go out to Colorado, unfortunately, so I threw in a little slide about me just kind of give you a little rundown about me since you guys didn't get to meet me. So I'm a recent graduate of Cornerstone University from Grand Rapids, Michigan. My degree is in environmental biology with a concentration in wildlife biology. So I like doing things more on the wildlife side of things. Some of my hobbies are hiking, backpacking, camping. I really like traveling and doing road trips and planning road trips. Fishing has been one that's grown within the last 5-ish years. Photography, guitar, and sports. And these are a couple pictures of some of those things. So a little bit of a park overview of Pictured Rocks National Lake Shore. Uh, it's around 73,236 acres, and it is 114 square miles roughly, and it has 42 miles of lakeshore, which also consists of 42 miles of the North Country Trail. If you haven't heard of the North Country Trail stretches from um, western Vermont all the way down into Ohio, up through Michigan, across the Upper Peninsula, and all the way into North Dakota. So it's a very long trail, and our lakeshore has 42 miles of it. On the top right, I inserted a picture of our park. Our park has three major portions of the park, going from left to right. The left part is more of our like rock cliffs. That's like the main part of how Pictured Rocks gets its name. That middle section is our wilderness area. So the only form of like civilization or things people have made is the road going out to the campground that's out there, and then everything else is just trails for recreation. And then the one on the far right is more of our dunes portion of the park. So there's three main categories within that park. And then the average annual visitors since 2020 has increased and it's around 1 million per year. So it has grown quite a bit, but it is still a relatively small and not as well known park. Even a lot of the people I know from Michigan haven't even been to Pictured Rocks or barely know about it. So it is relatively on the smaller side in terms of how popular it is. Next slide. So some of the programs and tasks that I did while I've been here so far has been Asaba Light Station tours. So that consists of a 15-minute grounds tour around the station, going through some of the historical stuff at the light station, what different aspects of the grounds were used for, and how that's changed over time, as well as a 15-minute program or portion of the program at the top of the lens room, where we talk about the third order Fresnel lens. Uh, the another program that I did was the Wilderness Canoe Expedition. And I have a couple pictures from that as well. Basically, that is a trip where we take visitors on a little canoe trip across Little Beaver Lake and Big Beaver Lake, and then we hike across a trail out to Lake Superior, and then we have lunch out at a beach, and then do that coming back. Lots of people enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it a lot. I love canoeing and being able to go out and just be out in the wilderness. So that's been a lot of fun for me. Another one that is new to the park is Fish with a Ranger. So I am the first Fish and Feathers intern at Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore, and this is a brand new program. So since it's a brand new program, we're still kind of working it out, figuring out what works, what we could change, what we could improve on. So far, today was our fourth program that we've had that hasn't been canceled. We had one canceled due to the wildfire smoke. But so far, that's had a pretty good turnout and pretty good feedback from visitors. I also do a birding and citizen scientist pop-up, which goes along with the bird migratory or World Migratory Bird Day. And then I also have one where I combine fishing with invasive species, since sea lamprey are a very big issue within the Great Lakes region and the Great Lakes Basin. That's something that I love to incorporate into that. Most people don't actually know what a sea lamprey is. So that's really cool being able to see both the youth response and the adult response to the sea lamprey and how it impacts our ecosystem and even within the park. I've also helped out with the visitor center quite a bit when I've been at the visitor center working. sometimes I'll just have some free time or taking a little break from working on developing programs. I'll go down and help answer questions at the visitor center, help people get familiar with the park, figure out where they should go to, all those kind of things. And then I'm also working on implementing at least a bird hike. Uh, there's there's a couple different spots that I have in mind, but there are some spots that aren't as like frequently traveled by visitors. So I'm just trying to find that right spot um, to do that at. So once I have everything fully developed, I'll test that out at a few of those different locations that I'm thinking about. So some of my stats so far, I've been a part of 83 programs. With our lighthouse tours, we have 9 different tours throughout a day. So I get to do several different programs within one day while I'm out there. And I've been doing that about 2 days a week, for the most part. Um, so far, I've had about 720 visitors. That number increased now today because we had 21 people total, I think, at our fishing event. Only 8 participants, but we had quite a few family members show up and learn about all that stuff. So that was pretty cool. Wildlife species found in the park. I've been keeping track of everything besides insects because that gets a little too complicated trying to figure all that out. But so between mammals, amphibians, reptiles, and birds, I've found 74 different species. And I'm sure there's also some birds that I've missed thinking like, oh, that's a common bird that I see in Michigan all the time, and it just goes over my head. So I would say somewhere around 74 species that I know I've seen for sure. And some of my projected stats for the rest of the time that I'm here, I did get extended through the rest of October, and I'll be done after that first week of September. So an estimated 176 programs that I'll have by the end of the season. Um, and at my programs, it's estimated to have about 1,500 total visitors, and then around 1,000 visitors that I'll give formal programs to. So that'll be cool seeing how that actually lines up. So some challenges and takeaways. I honestly didn't have any like major challenges. Most of the stuff was just kind of just little small things. So like developing and establishing new programs. Since I am the first Fish and Feathers intern, I'm kind of starting from the bottom and working my way up, figuring out what works, what doesn't work. I have a relatively good familiarity with the park going into this. So it was kind of more of just figuring out like how it actually interacts with the visitors rather than just like what I've done in the past while I'm at the park. Um, so that's been a little bit of a challenge. And then also history versus environmental science. Most of the time when I've done educational stuff, it's been like strictly environmental science, whether that's like identifying a tree, identifying a plant or a bird or a fish, something like that. It's been mostly oriented around that, not as much history. So a lot of our stuff here is a little more history based. So having to tie those two together and also learn all the history stuff has been a little bit of a challenge for me. Also, isolation. The Upper Peninsula in general is pretty isolated. It's pretty spread out. I live in Grand Marais, Michigan. So Grand Marais is a really small town. Yes, Maddie knows. The Upper Peninsula is very, very remote. Um, but in Grand Marais, the closest like actual store would be an hour away, and that's like a local grocery store, so it costs a little more. So in order to get to a store like Walmart, it's like 2 hours. If I either go 2 hours to Marquette or 2 hours to Sault Ste. Marie. So that's east and west. So it basically 2 hours to get to like a bigger store. Um, so that's been a little bit of a challenge, and also just Grand Marais is small in general. I think the local school has K through 12 has less than 40 kids. So it's mostly tourists and retired people. So there's not really anyone around my age in Grand Marais. So that's also been a little bit of a challenge. Our season also started later. We do 3 weeks of training before the season actually starts. So while some of you guys may have hit the ground running right away, we had a bunch of training. So like our fishing program, it didn't start until the very end of June. So like just some of that kind of stuff was a little more challenging to kind of like just get into things. But the training did prepare me well, so I'm very thankful for that. Not being able to attend the workshop was honestly tough. tough, just not like being able to meet all of you guys, build that connection beforehand, all that kind of stuff. Weather was also a big thing. We had wildfire smoke from Canada. We had just hot weather, cold weather, rain, all that kind of stuff. Weather fluctuates a lot being on Lake Superior, so that was a challenge. And also visitors not really knowing about the park. There's a lot of people that will come in and like not really know what they're like there for. So then we kind of have to just like figure out how we can help them figure out what they want to do. Some takeaways are things I've learned. My ability to interact with the public. I have not always been the best with that, and I've been pretty shy most of my life. So that was one thing I really wanted to improve on, and I've definitely said that I've improved on that. I've also never been super into birding, so being able to focus more on that while I'm here and learn about all those bird species that we have in the park and being able to identify them has been really fun for me. Um, Connecting people with nature has also been really fun. I That's one of my favorite things about the environment is being able to connect people to it. Also adaptability with the weather, a lot of things change. So sometimes a program might get canceled. I'll have to fill in for someone, something like that. So that's definitely something I've improved with being able to handle. And then also program development, I've definitely grown in that. These are some of my favorite pictures from the summer. Like I said, I do photography. So these are just some of my favorites. The indigo bunting was pretty cool. It was perched between some autumn olive, which is invasive. But so we had that, and then the mallard also was one of my favorite bird pictures that I got. And then I have one more slide at the end, which is kind of a little bonus. This was not in the park, but this is a piping plover that I got a picture of down at Sleeping Bear Sand Dunes National Lakeshore. And this has became one of my more favorite bird pictures that I've taken. So I figured I would just include that for fun.
Great presentation, Lucas. Incredible bird photos. Are you putting these
Thank you.
on eBird? We're all gonna want to follow you.
Yeah. For my actual photography stuff, I usually don't put them on eBird. I'll post them on like my photography account on Instagram, but I have not really posted them on eBird before. But yeah,
You'll have to put your handle in the group me so we can all follow you. That's really cool.
okay, cool. I will.
Great work this summer and keep it up as you keep going.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. Malia is up next. Come online and take it away whenever you're ready, Malia.
Hi guys. Yeah, so I was at Rocky Mountain National Park West this summer. It's about like an hour and 15 minutes from like where we were for the training and everything. So you just gotta drive an hour and 15 over Trail Ridge and then you get onto the west side. And the west side has been really nice because it's a little bit more remote, which I like, and a little bit less people, more longer hikes. And so I'm happy to tell you guys about some of the stuff that I did. For my programs and responsibilities, my personal favorite program was I got to do critter chats. And so I go outside and I do a little speech for people about like any topic of my choosing. And I did woodpeckers, and I specifically talked about the generosity of woodpeckers, because they're a keystone species. And so I loved talking to people about woodpeckers, and everyone loved them. And everyone would like come up and be like, "Oh yeah, I had this guy like banging on my house," and it always just made for like really great conversations. So I had a lot of fun with the critter chats. Yeah, and then we would do Junior Ranger, where we would just set up a pop-up, and every week we would do a different topic, talking about something that like affects the park, like wildfires, what wilderness means, and we would have different activities to keep kids engaged with it. Um, and then we would do Junior Angler, which was another favorite program of mine. We actually got to teach kids to fly fish over on this side, which was so awesome, so fun. Everyone loved it. Sometimes we would do like collaborative programs on the weekends where we would also teach adults, and so that was super fun too. We got to talk about like the different bugs in the water. We would like catch them and then show people the different bugs and then like what fish we have here. And so there's just a little bit of something for everyone. We even had like fly tying. So that was really engaging and awesome to talk to people about. Um, and then I would go up to the Alpine Visitor Center, which is like halfway between here and Estes once a week. And I would get to talk to visitors up there. And that was super fun because the visitor center is just beautiful. It's like perched on top of a mountain. It's just something else. And I made my own pop-up for that. So it was like a little game show about the different like animals and plants and stuff up there. And I'd have people come up and play it. And they loved like learning about all the different adaptations that you need to live in the Alpine. Um, and I would do just a few cross trainings, like I did SAR training. I went to do like a greenhouse day. I shadowed like the visitor protection people. So all that was so fun. And then I did a lot of talking to people in the visitor center, which I actually really, really enjoyed. We're in a big burn scar over here because we had a fire in 2020, and people love to talk about that. I can like almost instantly guess when someone comes up and is going to ask me about the fire. And that's super fun because then you get to like interact with them and kind of educate them on fire ecology and like all the different things on how to be safe on that. Um, and just a whole bunch of different fun things to talk to people about over here, especially with the moose and how the moose are like affecting the wetlands and all that. So a lot of different good conversations with people at the visitor center. Okay, next slide. Yeah, so I talked to quite a lot of people this summer. In my very short 2 months, I had like 263 people at my critter chats. So a lot of people learned about woodpeckers this summer. And then just under 1,000 people we taught to fly fish, which feels really awesome and impactful. That makes me really happy knowing that there's a lot of people going out there that maybe have a new passion, a new way to connect with the landscape. Um, and then I'm really proud. I calculated all my weekend hikes, and I've done around 97 miles on the west side, and I have a 16-mile one planned this weekend. So she'll go up. I'm going to go from the east side to the west side. But that's been really nice because people come into the visitor center and they want to know like what to hike, and I'm like, I've done basically all of them, so I can tell you about whatever you want. And so that's been really fun because I just get to connect with people about something that I'm really passionate about. And then I already kind of talked about it, but my cross training with the 3 different divisions. So I got a lot of experience that wasn't just interp, which was really nice just to see the different careers and things that go on to make the national park happen. So for my successes, a big thing for wanting to work here was that I really haven't done like anything with kids. Kids kind of scare me. They kind of terrify me, to be honest. And so that was a little bit of a challenge for me of like going in and learning to talk to them and kind of meeting them where they're at on what they want to learn and stuff. And I consider that a success because I went into it and I would sweat bullets and it was like for no reason too. And then once I like got into it and understood the programs and stuff, it got much nicer. And I made a lot of like really good connections. And I talked to a lot of kids that were like really, really into it. A lot of them would ask like really in-depth questions that some of the adults weren't even thinking about. So that was really fun, just learning to talk to kids based on their like engagement and stuff like that. Um, and then it was also awesome getting to create some of my own programs like the Critter Chat and stuff, because I get to just go and research something that I care a lot about and then figure out how to tell people about that. And I love doing that. That's a huge thing that I wanted to get out of this internship was figure out how to make those kinds of programs to teach people those things. Um, so yeah, it was just a lot of adapting to what people want and kind of figuring out how interested they are. Um, for my challenges, this is not really EFTA related, but I did take some summer classes and that kind of beat me up. It was kind of a lot to do work and then come home and make dinner and then do homework until I go to bed. And so if I did it again, I probably would try not to do that because it kind of affected how much energy I have at work the next day if that's all I'm doing. But you got to do what you got to do. And so it all worked out. And then another big thing of why I wanted this internship is that like I'm a science gal. I love knowing the science. I love knowing like exactly why everything works and all the little intricacies. But I feel like a lot of scientists don't know how to talk to people about those kinds of things. They get really jargony and they just like are kind of boring with it. And so I wanted to like kind of figure out how to make science interesting. And so it was a little bit of a challenge at first because a lot of visitors don't really actually like care that much. And so you kind of have to figure out what they want to know and how much they want to learn, just so that like at the end of the day, you're there to have like a good experience for them so that they start caring about it, whether they learn a ton or not. It's just supposed to be fun. And so that was a challenge, but in the end, I overcame it and I figured out how to talk to people a little bit more. And my single greatest struggle was taking pictures. I'm not a very good picture taker, so really any of the pictures that you see on my slides are because Aiden was with me one day and he would take pictures for me. So thank you, Aiden. He really helped me with that quite a lot. But yeah. And so I overall I had such a great summer. I learned so many things, even just like not related to the career field with the fly fishing stuff. When we would catch the bugs, we would have kids like compare the bugs in the stream to what the different flies look like. And that was really, really helpful for me because I remember like sitting in the training and being like, oh my God, like how am I gonna learn all of this? Like these flies don't even look like anything. And then when you get to actually like compare them to the bugs, and every week I'd see different bugs coming through. So that was really cool to like learn about a different ecosystem in that sense. Um, and just the national park system in general, I learned a lot about. I know more about what a career in the national park system looks like. I went into it and I didn't even know what green and gray meant. I was like, what are you guys talking about? Learned that one pretty quick though. And then also, huge thank you. We have the Rocky Mountain Conservancy here, and they're a nonprofit group, and they do so much for the park. They are like single-handedly, not single-handedly, but they are a large part of why this park can function as it can. And so it's also kind of cool working with them and kind of like learning what nonprofits can do for an area and stuff. So I got a lot of cool experience learning both of those things. And yeah, so thank you to Environment for the Americas for this awesome opportunity. Thank you.
Malia, fantastic presentation. I cannot believe you did all this and we're taking classes and somehow hiked 97 miles so far. That's amazing. So huge hats off to you. That's fantastic. Way to go. Okay, Kat, you're up next. Come online and start whenever you're ready.
Alrighty. Hi guys. I'm Kat Armenteros. I'm also in Rocky Mountain National Park, East Side. I'm in Estes. So you can go to the next slide. So yeah, I'm gonna start off with a lot of my programs and responsibilities. I did junior angler program weekly. I did my bird sit and stroll EVIX, which is like a camp group for low income families that are local to Estes Park. We actually, everyone who's at training, we work with them during our fishing program. Literally all the same families. I see them every week. Calwood, which is another camp group. I did daily pop-ups, about 2 to 3 of them a day. Really fun during roving. Then my pride and joy was the Ranger's Choice Bird Guide. I have a whole slide on it. I harassed all my coworkers to draw me a bird so we could all make a little bird guide to make people feel more like inclined to join us in either drawing or just birding, and they can see it's open to all skill levels. I also worked at all the visitor centers. Tomorrow I'm actually going to be up at Alpine. I didn't take stats very well because it was just a lot of people at all times. We are the sixth busiest national park. We average 4.1 to 4.5 visitors a year, like million visitors a year. But my junior angler program on average was about 45 people, kids and family. A lot of times, since it is a lot of people coming from out of states, it's adults also fishing with us who do get their fishing license. That's really nice. And yeah, if you can go on to the next slide. This is my Ranger's Choice Bird Guide. It's literally my pride and joy. My bird is there. I did a pygmy nuthatch. But yeah, I was very passionate about this project because I wanted everyone to join and feel welcomed. That was a challenge I do have in one of my slides. Not familiar with birding. I made that very clear during training. I'm more fish than feathers. But but I was able to get people to join in with us by seeing like this is open to all skill levels. You don't need to have previous experience, or you can be an expert. So we have art of all type of skills. There is a Stellar's J. It's in the previous slide, and that was the blank page where kids or adults can add their own drawings. It was also a really cute souvenir, and it had all the bird migration facts on the back. Like Rocky Mountain has 280 different species of birds coming in and out, which I think is really cool. Yeah. And then on my next slide, I believe I have my challenges. Relocation was tough. I drove 2,500 miles basically from Miami to Colorado. That was tricky. Same with the altitude was really rough on me. As we know, during training, I missed a day while working. I was constantly out of breath. Catching up with fellow interns at Rocky Mountain, everyone had about 3 weeks of training. I had 2 days to learn everything. Birding. I had never done any birding previous to this internship. So that was a bit of a challenge for me. And I most definitely was constantly overthinking it, especially because I got put on the spot a lot. They would be like, oh, that's the bird guide. And I was like, no, guys, I'm not that good with birds. Learning the birds for birding. A lot of my free time was reading a lot of books. We have a really good library within our office with all of our local birds and just talking to all the other volunteers. Diversity was a really interesting one. In my whole team, I think I am the second Hispanic person, the first being Emily Wong, who we did meet during training. And there's a few times I did feel relatively lonely during that because I was like, wow, like this is a bit trickier for me. A lot of people might not see things from my perspective and my experience. Being born in Miami, raised in Nicaragua, being Nicaraguan Cuban. Housing was another challenge for me. I live in a bunkhouse. I have 2 other roommates and we're separated by curtains. We have about 12 people living in one house. It's really tricky to have alone time. Thankfully, I'm very fortunate and all my roommates are really cool and they're really nice. It just, at some points, when you have a long day, you just like to be alone. And from all that, I did experience a lot of imposter syndrome. Speaking to other interns within Fish and Feathers and with Rocky Mountain and my coworkers, I felt like everyone was so above me. They have crazier educations than I do. I do just come from community college, different upbringing. But at the end of the day, I was able to relate to more guests because of that. We did get a lot of guests that come from around the world. And it was really endearing. There were times at the Beaver Visitor Center where this random line would form in front of me, and I was confused. And it was just Spanish-speaking people who could recognize that I was also Hispanic. And so this makeshift line would just form in front of me, and they would tell me, like, the first thing they'd say is like, "Oh, I'm so glad you speak Spanish. We're so lost. This is our first time. What can we do?" And I was like, "Yo, I got you. I can literally. What do you guys want to do? Trying to do something hard, something easy, drive-in." So that did help a lot with both diversity and imposter syndrome. I'm also lucky I did have a lot of family come visit, which was really nice. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. So yeah, my accomplishments. I did search and rescue training. That was really cool. I've mentioned it in a few of our webinars. That was very intense as well, especially because we're constantly getting SARS. We're also one of the top 3 national parks to be receiving a lot of search and rescue. Usually it's not that serious. Sometimes we do get more serious ones. Hiking was another one. Never really hiked before this. I think once many, many years ago when I was a teenager, but I built up the confidence to be able to hike alone on longer hikes. The altitude still gets me. I think my longest hike so far has been like 9 miles, but we're working up to it. Hopefully I can do Skypon before I leave. I've also sworn in, I think it's way over 800 right now because I had a very big birding group this morning. But I've sworn in a lot of junior rangers, and I think that's been second to first highlight of this whole internship has been making kids get more inspired to want to be outdoorsy, to want to go outside, to want to learn about things they think is boring, which birding is a big one. As we know, kids are not very interested in sitting and staring at birds and trees, but we've made it fun where kids are able to, and families just get to enjoy it all together. Fishing too, that is my passion. I love fishing. And so far, I've had a great track record, almost catching a fish every time we do it. We don't do it at a very good spot, but it is working. Kids are learning how to spin rod and fly fish and all of the above. And it's kids who like have so much experience to kids who've never even held a fish. Um, I also got to do cross training between the search and rescue. I got to hang around with the trail crew. We actually have horses and llamas and mules, and they live right across my housing, and that's been really fun and cool. Um, as well as with the federal law rangers. So basically, the police in national parks. I had to be a stand-in one day during a very big emergency. Very scary, but that was really cool to kind of shadow them, get to talk to them, wear the cool police vest, while directing traffic and taking in complaints. And lastly, making connections. I've met a lot of really wonderful guests, not even just friends, but there's one gentleman who stands out to me, and his name is Ed McDonald. He is 94 years old, and he is a Korean War vet. And I met him at the visitor center, and we are now pen pals. And he mails me letters from home from San Diego, and I send him postcards back from Rocky Mountain. And we talk. He's a very sweet gentleman, and he told me that his dream was to come to Rocky Mountain and take a road trip for his 94th birthday, and that I made it very special for him because I just let him talk to me about his whole life. And I think that's something that a lot of us kind of miss in general, is like being able to stop and just appreciate life and appreciate the people around us. Everyone has a great story. Everyone has common interest. He was really into fishing, super easy to talk to him. But yeah. And if I could, in the hypothetical, if budgeting wasn't a thing, I would love to add more programs for low income families, more accessibility devices to trails. In Hidden Valley, we have this super cool mobility scooter. It's like off trailing mobility scooter. Super cool. And if I could, I'd add more programs in more languages. We do get a lot of foreign guests. One of my roommates and coworkers does speak Mandarin. I'm fluent in Spanish. And we see a lot of guests like that. And you can see how the guards go from being so sheltered to like relax once they realize you can talk to them. We can talk about anything. And the programs for low income families, EVICs, as you guys met them, they're all lovely families. I've related a lot with them. Growing up, I also grew up low income, and a lot of the opportunities I have today are thankfully to programs that helps me get to where I am. And I've gotten very close to them. They invite me to dinner sometimes. They're very sweet. And yeah, and those are pictures of me and my partner. Oh, sorry. There's a picture of me and my partner, and my father and my best friend, who we're all Cuban, and we all come from very similar demographics. And one thing was especially my dad talking about how he felt very welcomed because there were other people who spoke Spanish like Emily. It's okay. It's all right. Oh, it worked. There it is. And it was just nice, especially people from this city who do feel intimidated to go on hikes. I did in the beginning, being able to come out with us and like do smaller hikes and just being very welcoming. So I put pictures of them. I mean, they also helped me get through this internship when I was homesick. And then yeah, my final thoughts. Was not sure what an interp ranger was until Emily came in and talked to us and told us what it was. I focused a lot on my internship on trying to get the facts out, and realized at the end of the day, it's really about making these special connections, about putting in these seeds on young kids and stuff, so they're willing to come back and teach their friends and just pass it on. Before this internship started, I related to a song called "I'd Love to Change the World" by 10 Years Later. It's a song from the 70s, fun hippie song. And the chorus says, "I'd love to change the world, but I don't know what to do, so I'll leave it up to you." And this summer has taught me that change does start with small conversations. Just talking to kids, helping someone identify a new bird, translating a fish. And it's like each little conversation is one step to a closer connection that they can then have themselves with our national parks and see what we all have in common, which is loving our beautiful protected lands. Yeah, so I know where to start now. Just keep making connections with people. And yeah, next slide. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Thank you to the Rocky Mountain Rangers, Emily Wong, Kurt, great, also boss, also the RMC, the Rocky Mountain Conservancy, they're amazing. My family, my lovely partner, my dad, and you guys for being here today and listening to me yap.
Great job, Kat. This was an awesome presentation. Thank you so much for sharing about everything you did and all the ways you learned and grew this summer. It's really, really awesome to see. Super proud
Yeah,
of you.
thank you. And yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything, I believe that's my next slide. I was just asking if anybody had any questions or comments. But yeah, thank you guys so much. This was a great experience. Meant a lot to me.
Awesome. Way to go, Kat. Okay, Dara is going to be our next presenter. Whenever you're ready, Dara, come online and take it away.
Hi guys, I'm Dara Rosario Garcia. I was the Fish and Feathers intern for summer 2026 at the Springfield Armory National Historic Site, and I'm excited to tell you about my summer. So the Springfield Armory, aka SPAR, was at the epicenter of military weapons manufacturing for all major US wars. So the actual location is a museum that was an armory for 174 years. So when you come in, the walls are filled with rifles. One of the pictures here shows the mishaps, and the displays kind of show the innovation and the science and art it takes to create these weapons. And the museum takes you through the history of all those 174 years and how important it was to US history. And I learned so much during my time here, history, science, and community outreach. So we had a bunch of programs this summer, more than I can fit on this slide, but I just put some of my favorites on here. So on the Springfield Armory grounds, we have a victory garden, and it's where we plant historically significant vegetables and fruits, which is really cool. Sometimes we have community members come in and plant there, and we give out some seedlings to people too. And we've also had a lot of fishing events, like Cops and Bobbers was one, where we worked with Palante, which was a youth athletic group, and local police and firefighters. And we also had a Bark in the Park event at our park, which is where people would bring their dogs and they would become a bark ranger. Um, and that was really fun. We had a bandana making station, a pup cup station, and a watercolor painting station. And we had a bunch more events. Some of my favorites were the tabling events. On the top right picture, I tabled at the Forest Park Zoo in front of the servals cage. So that was really fun. I think that day I ran out of bird masks because so many kids wanted to do them. It was a really fun time. And I've also been able to do water chestnut pulling. So invasive removal on kayaks where you just zigzag across a pond. Unfortunately, at that pond, they've done so much water chestnut removal year after year that I didn't get to pick up any. So I know that's a really good thing, but I was a little bit disappointed because I wanted to know what it was like. But I'm really happy that the efforts have led to something good. And finally, all of July is summer camp. So 3 to 4 days a week. I work with kids at usually at Forest Park, which is our closest park. And we spend 2 hours fishing and learning about different animals and our environment and ecology. So I've gotten to work a lot with kids. And a lot of these events couldn't be made possible without partners. So I only listed some here, but there's so many. I've been able to work with a lot of people and gotten to learn what it takes to make these events possible, and just talking to people and connecting with them and learning how they got into their careers has been so helpful to me. Um, and it's been really nice just getting to know people and recognizing them later and making these connections. So this is one of our therapy dogs from the Bark in the Park event. But so Fish and Feathers in numbers, I had over 850 attendees at events I was at. I think it's closer to 1,000 now or more with summer camp. Um, but I also added 36 bird species to my life list, which it was 0 before this internship. And I also did not add the ones in Colorado because I didn't know how to work the app yet. So it's probably a little bit higher than that, but that just means I'll have to go back. There were also over 30 dogs at our Bark in the Park event. We have 12 days of summer camp, 8 tabling events, 6 blogs. And actually, as of Tuesday, I've caught my first fish. So I can add that. And it's overall been one amazing experience. So, with all these events, inevitably come some challenges. One of the biggest challenges was canceled programs. When you work with so many organizations, like deferring schedules and heat waves, rain, and recently the smoke can cause a lot of canceled programs. So I had to learn how to reschedule and work around that and replan my days. Um, I've also, before this internship, I had never worked with kids at all. I was really scared to do it. And this whole summer, all I've done is work with kids just about almost every day I've been here, especially in summer camp. Um, and I've learned so much. 2 people from Mass Audubon, Liz and Amelia, they're environmental educators and they do an amazing job. And just seeing them engage the kids in different ways has been so helpful to me. And I've learned a lot from them. And now I've worked with kids from like Head Start age, like 2 years old, to high school kids. And it's been great learning. Also, WordPress was a challenge because those times when you wanted to upload a picture and it said it was too busy. So it took me a little longer than I wanted, but I uploaded all my blogs and papers flying at tabling events. No matter how many weights you put down, it's always going to happen. And I think my biggest challenge was fear of trying new things. I was scared of so much during this internship. I was scared to even go to Colorado because I don't fly alone that often. I was scared of kayaking and being on the water and like being the person of contact at so many of these events and working with kids. But even though I was scared, I still made myself do them because it would be a disservice to my time here to not experience all these things. And I think I've learned a lot. For example, kayaking, I love it now. So that was a really fun fear to work over. And working with kids, I learned a lot from that. So here are some of the things I learned. So first is paddle skills. So kayaking. I was with so many trained people, so that was nice to calm my fears. And I also learned instructor orientation training with Eagle Eye. So they taught me a lot about environmental education, especially working with kids. So it was so nice to have that exposure to see how they talk about it and ideas they gave me for the summer. I also learned bird banding with Mass Audubon, which was one of my favorite things. Most of these pictures are from bird banding. I got to learn so much and just how much knowledge it takes to do all this. In the bottom right picture, they're like analyzing which feathers have molted or which ones are hatch year, which ones are first year. And it's so much knowledge they have, and it was really exciting to see. I also learned fishing and a lot of Springfield history from my coworkers. I've lived here most of my life, but there were so many things I had no idea about. Springfield is the city of firsts, so many history points that I had never encountered before. I also learned a lot about working with partners. I basically worked with partners for most of my events, so I was able to sit in on some meetings too and see how these events are created when you work with so many different people and having ideas come from everyone and seeing what works and what doesn't. And also adapting in unexpected situations like canceled programs and just working with kids. There's always going to be something unexpected pop up. So um, it's a good skill to be thinking on your feet. And overall, I had a great time this summer. Obviously, not everybody is pictured because I couldn't fit them here, but these are some of the people I met that I'm so grateful that I met. And I had such a great time. I want to thank EFTA and MPS and everybody at the Springfield Armory, especially my supervisor, Jen. She's amazing. And she supported me throughout this entire internship, and she's so great. Um, and just, it's so nice being in a workplace where people are passionate about their jobs. Before this, I didn't think that was a real thing. I just thought everybody like felt kind of about their jobs. So it was really cool to see people actually like what they were doing. And it was so important to me to know that. And my park is actually letting me stay a little bit longer. So I'll be there until the end of the summer. So I'm really excited to keep working with them and learn some more and grow my career. Thank you.
Amazing presentation, Dara. Thanks so much for sharing. Okay, Kayla, you're up next. Whenever you're ready, you can come online and take it away.
Okay, awesome. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, hi everyone, my name is Kayla here, and I did my internship at Chattahoochee River National Recreation Area in Atlanta, Georgia. First, I wanted to say that I had such amazing time, and I've experienced so many new things and so many exciting things. So, I'm excited to tell you about it. First, I wanted to talk a little bit about Chattahoochee River. The National Recreation Area was founded August 15th, 1987. So we're coming up on its 48th birthday. And we have 15 units that span over 48 miles with over 66 miles of trails and 7,000 acres. So it's a really big place through North and Central Atlanta. We're also labeled as the first ever national water trail, which is really cool. And why the river is so important is it is home to 70% of the metro's water supply in Atlanta. So it is really important for everybody in the metro area. So, my roles and responsibilities, I was part of the Planning, Resource, and Education Division under the E, which is an interpretation and education team with four others amazing individuals that I'll talk about a little bit later. I was a lead of a YMCA camp that came to our education center. So we would prep and make different programs for them, for the kids that came there from ages 5 to 12, all throughout summer. I helped and either led or helped with all the fishing programs as well as the birding programs here, as well as I was the point of contact for another camp, the DNC camp that did rafting here as well in our visitor center, as well as camp throughout. And I learned so many things. It was such an amazing time. First of all, I expanded on my environmental stewardship on what rules and things that were at the park. I never knew anybody that was in the National Park Service before this, and all the different people and the roles that come together to make the park work is actually astonishing. And it takes so many people to make sure our park is safe and that people have an amazing time. Also through my fishing programs, I've learned so much about the fish population here as well as the bird population. And now I'm addicted to fishing and I want to do it every time I can at every lake that I can, even like on the coast and all this everywhere. And I want to be a good angler and I got to learn how to show people being to be a good angler, kids and adults. Also the history at Chattahoochee, I never knew so much history was in the backyard of where I live because I lived in Atlanta. And so one of the pictures is actually a paper mill and a grist mill that's there, and that helped local economies in the 1800s build the city of Roswell, which is a major city in Atlanta, as well as other communities. And now they're being preserved and served as recreational areas and historical areas that people can see. And I'm so happy that I got to teach and now learn about where I lived, and showing people that made a lasting impact, which was really awesome. And then next slide. So these are programs and events that I either led or held. I helped and led over 20 plus YMCA camp programs, which me and my interp and education team, we would do it all throughout summer. So 4 days a week, all throughout summer from the end of May to end of July. So that's a lot of different programs. We did birding programs, we did fishing, we did other animals, hikes, walks, water, anything you can name it, we've done it with the kids. I also did 2 junior DA angler programs where I was the lead in helping kids from academies at the district attorney's office learn how to fish, which was really cool. 2 bird walks, one that I did previously and one I'm doing tomorrow if the weather allows it. A migratory bird day table. I also did learning to fly fish and spin cast with the public, and that was super awesome. 1 bark ranger table where I got to swear in dogs as a bark ranger, and that was one of my favorite parts because I love dogs. 1 volunteer table, as well as things that I was a part of and I got to do, where I got to do river training, which was probably the most intense but one of the most rewarding times. I talked about it a little bit in a webinar where I was on the river for over 6 hours in over 7 miles, and I learned how to flip over boats and search and rescue and throw boats, and it was intense, but it was amazing. And then I did a sumac plant survey, which is an endangered species here, and I got to cut invasive plants and also do the survey, and it's grown at our location exponentially. And then I learned to kayak, and that was actually a really surprising love of mine that I thought I was going to be really tired and not like it, but I loved it, and I'm forcing my family to come out here and do it before the summer ends. And then just a couple stats. I taught over 214 YMCA campers, 60 junior DAs, 7 dogs that I was in Bark Rangers, 43 and counting bird participants, over 80 fishing participants, and out of the 15 locations, I visited or did programs at 11 of them. And then 41 native birds here that I identified on my life list. And my favorite, I don't have a picture of it, was a blue grosbeak that I actually saw today, which was really cool. Next slide. So my challenges, there was a bit of challenges balancing my work and family life. This was my first full-time internship. So doing that 40 hours a week and then coming home. My sister, as this picture, just had a baby. So I'm a new aunt and I love her so much. And I would come home all the time after work and spend as much time with her as I could. Weather was a really big hurdle. I just lost power and internet 20 minutes ago, and there was big storms that came out. So being able to navigate canceling programs or changing programs with the kids was a lot, but I made it work. And learning to work with large groups of kids. I only worked with small groups of kids in the past, so doing that to over 60 kids a day was a really big change, but also knowing that if they learn something and they have fun, that's all that matters. And you're teaching them something that they've never learned before. So that's really cool. And then individualized work, also doing that with the kids, like grouping a bunch of kids and doing a program yourself is a little stressful, but I definitely got used to it. And once you get to know the kids, they're really awesome and really engaged. And then getting prepared to move. So this was probably the hardest thing, is I'm moving in 2 weeks to go to my master's program. So getting that in line was really tough, and I haven't even started packing. But yeah, but getting to do this opportunity and going to grad school, I'm very thankful for. So I'm glad that I got to do both. And then these are more pictures and then just key takeaways. One thing is that it takes one person to make a change in others, and I'm talking mostly about the kids in the programs. Some of the kids have been to the camp before, but some have never, and just teaching kids so many things about nature or birds and things that they didn't think they would enjoy, and just seeing that spark in them and being so engaged is like everything to me. And them saying that they have fun and they learn something new and they talk about it with their family, with their siblings, with everything, with everybody else, and that's awesome. And then communities everywhere, talking to so many different individuals when I was either tabling or at the visitor center, and there are so many different people and stories around, and talking to people is so inclusive, and it felt like home, and you talk to them for like forever. So it was really awesome. And then my this solidified that my career is destined to be in nature, whether it's at a national park or at a conservation or anything like that. I am destined to do something with this, and I'm so excited that I get to do this. And then I just wanted to say a big thank you to all my organizations that helped me, either getting my events out or helping me, like Trout Unlimited, that helped me with my fishing events. Thank you to my supervisor, Jamie. She's not here, but she's helped me through everything. And then my three amazing coworkers, Jerry, Christian, and Kelsey. They made me laugh and help me through this every day. I would not have been able to do it without them. And then also thank you, EFTA, for doing the Colorado trip and also making this possible for us. So
Great job, Kayla. This was an awesome presentation. Loved hearing about everything you learned and accomplished this summer. Great work. Okay, Marcus, come online and take it away.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Sweet. Hi, I'm Marcus Lopez. I'm the returning Fish and Feathers intern over at the Valle Caldera National Preserve. Um, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. Sweet. So yeah, like I said, I'm returning. I did this internship before back in 2024. I was the first EFTA intern they had at the park. Took a year off to focus on family and school, and the girl I met when I came here. And so that was a nice little break, but it was really fun to be back. A lot of things have changed. When I left last time, there was only two rangers, and me, well, three. And now there was, I think, five, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there are six. So a lot more help this summer than last, which was really nice. Um, a lot of things have changed physically too. There was two entrance stations, and now there's only one. So that's kind of streamlined things, which is nice. And it let me focus on a lot of different things. I feel like last time it was a lot of entrance station, talking to visitors, which I enjoyed. And this time it's been definitely more planning, more talking to different people for clinics, and things like that. And so some numbers here, we did 11 Western fly fishing clinics, 5 Tenkara fly fishing clinics. We did Wednesday bird walks, which weren't that popular, unfortunately. Um, but yesterday we had 8 people come on the first one. So that was an accomplishment for sure. That was cool. Um, we did Stars Above the Caldera, which was a 2-night event. If you look there in the middle, there's the LE pointing. That was at that event, and it was super fun. There was some stargazing and moonlight walks that got canceled, unfortunately, because the monsoons. Um, and then planning for Migratory Bird Day, we did different YMCA youth camps with fishing and photography and different things. I got to help the veg crew or the wildlife crew baiting jumping mice footprint trackers, which is really fun. And a big accomplishment was no ticks at all, not even seen. So like absolutely no ticks, which is amazing. So that was that was awesome. Um, so yeah, favorite parts of my experience were definitely the fishing clinics. I mean, I grew up here. I grew up fishing this place. So it's like such a blessing to come back and be able to teach youth and just the local community about just like my greatest passion. And so um, I was really happy to see that the Tenkara clinics were still alive. Avery last year did an amazing job keeping that going. And so it's expanded. I mean, I think we did three in 2024, maybe four. And so to even do more and have more participants is really nice on top of the regular clinics. And so to see something that I started 2 years ago just thriving is amazing. And it's still the same volunteers, it's still the same people that I reached out to get the rods. And that was really special. The weather is beautiful. I think everyone in the program can agree that the weather everywhere is amazing in the forest like this. It just got done pouring over here, so monsoons are definitely here. Um, and then just the animals. I mean, that's a calf, a baby elk calf in the grass right there where I was fishing. The trout, the snakes, it was all just so awesome. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Claudia. Um, can you go to the next one? So yeah, Tenkara clinics, I keep talking about them, but they're a Japanese style of fly fishing that is it's a rod without a reel. And so it's a fixed line. And it works really well for this type of water. Um, the creeks are really thin, really narrow, and there's no trees, so it's a very fun type of fishing to do in New Mexico. And I feel like a lot of people don't know about it, even though it's one of the oldest types of fly fishing. And so being able to bring that to a place like New Mexico, of all places, is really awesome. So I just can't harp on that enough. Stars above the caldera was a really fun experience. We did something like this when I was first here. I don't remember the name exactly, but it was a one night event, July 4th weekend. We had like over 1,000 people, I think, attend, and we usually get like 200 people a day. And so that was like a big thing. It was just overwhelming. And so this time it was a 2 day event and we did stargazing and silent disco, which was really cool. And so to pair those two together, that's kind of what you see there. They're wearing the silent disco headphones while also looking at stars, which was super unique. Um, and so what's next? Applying for permanent positions is on the docket. I think they have two 579s opening up here at the Caldera. Um, and so they're local hires. Couple things have to fall into place, but I would really like to apply to those. Fingers crossed, that'd be really cool in the intern department. I'm trying to put together a fishing competition to leave Lauren to hopefully put into place. And even if I don't work here, I want that to get put into place so I can participate in it. That would be really cool. And then just finishing school. I got one more semester. So once that's done, we'll see. LE is also law enforcement also sounds like a cool career path that might be an option. Can you go to the next one? Thank you. So challenges, there weren't too many on the park. I mean, I love it here. Like I said, this is like my favorite place on the planet. And so I really missed my animals. That's Sky the cat and Juniper the dog. They're really sweet. Miss them a lot. Like Kayla, I had a nephew born, and so I am gonna go see him next week for the first time, which is exciting. Um, Missed my girlfriend and my brother a lot. Um, Probably gonna propose in January, so that's exciting. And then the fire. We had a fire very close. Macaulay Springs, it was like 720 acres, I think, which is small for a fire, but it was so close to houses and it was really scary. We couldn't, yes, it's a secret. Please don't tell her. Um, um, And then the bottom left picture is turning fishing rods from right-handed to left-handed. That was a big pain. That rod got thrown away. So that was a challenge, a little specific challenge, but we got two of them done. We had clinics with left-handed participants, and we were like, wow, why don't we have any left-handed rods? So that was a thing to do. Um, and so, yeah, I really want to thank everybody. Adam Dean is not here, but he's so awesome. He's in the top right. That was minutes before we left the preserves. Um, miss him a lot. All my EFTA friends, thank you to Claudia and Jose for taking my dumb questions on like a random Tuesday. And just answering them like super fast. You guys are awesome. Everyone's here, so thank you all.
Yeah, Morgan.
And my other EFTA intern, Carlos, is here too. What's up? But yeah, it was really a blessing to be here, and I can't wait to come back.
Great presentation, Marcus. Thanks so much for sharing so much of what you learned and experienced, and also your secret plans. Wow, really big. Everybody try to keep that under wraps.
You guys know her personally, so please be quiet.
Okay, up next is Amaya. Amaya, whenever you're ready, come online and take it away.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Amaya Padilla, and I was the Fish and Feathers intern at Ringel St. Elias this summer. But it was actually funny because someone called me the Feathers and No Fish intern because I don't actually eat fish, so I thought that was a little silly. But if you didn't know, Ringel St. Elias is actually the largest national park in the US, so it was a really unique opportunity to learn all about this huge part of Alaska during this summer. So first I wanted to talk about the worst time I had here at the park, but I mean worst in the best way possible. Worst is actually the acronym for Ringel St. Elias, and it's always a joke. I was actually named the worst employee of the last pay period, so I think it's a little bit silly. And so yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about the park and my experience so far. I think this park was a really perfect opportunity for me because it was a perfect intersection of my academic interest. I am actually a sociology and biology double major. And so getting a chance to kind of go to a park where both of these subjects are really appreciated is really interesting. Subsistence hunting and fishing and public land use in the park and preserve is a really big and integral part of the park. And learning about how these people, especially the indigenous, but also the local and rural residents who have lived here for a very long time, make use of the land and how that's such an important part of the park is really important. It taught me a lot about how conservation does not always look the same. And maybe coming from California, I have this weird idea that conservation is kind of like preserving nature, leaving it untouched and sort of pristine. But I learned a lot about how it's really important to have people involved and how conservation can take different forms. So, yeah, that kind of bleeds into the sort of things I learned and this new perspective on conservation and how it's important to kind of break these sort of notions you have or you've learned in your past. But because of that, and because of my time working a lot at the visitors desk, I learned a lot about the biology and cultural parts of the park. I learned a lot about the Otna people, which is a local tribe that it has existed on this land for a very long time. There's actually an Otna Cultural Center on the campus of our visitor center that I learned a lot from. But I also learned a lot about the biology that is really, really expansive because it's just such a huge park and there's so much to learn from. I also learned a lot about speaking up for myself, but also just in general because I can be a little bit shy. So learning just to talk more has been a really big part of this internship as well. I also had a chance to learn more about camping and fishing. I was supposed to go on a camping trip with the YCC, but I broke out into a mystery fit of hives, so I actually couldn't go. But I learned a lot about what it would have taken to camp, and so shout out to Sarah. She's here. She was my mentor in the camping trip that could have been. And I also had a chance to catch my first fish here, so that was also really fun. I also learned a lot what it takes. I learned a lot about what it takes to live remotely. I live 4 hours from a Costco. So I did one Costco run in the beginning of the year, not the year, the summer, and I've been living off of that. So that's been difficult to kind of have to deal with the cravings and not be able to satisfy those. And lastly, the biggest thing I probably learned is how to write a program. That was a really, really big road bump. Learning how to come up with those ideas and put them into words and then put them into practice was a really big thing, but I learned how to do it and I managed to do it. Next slide, please. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit of the events and programs I had a chance to do while here at Ringgold St. Elias. A lot of the events I had a chance to do were with the local people, whether that just be the local kids at the library or some of the individuals from the Otna Cultural Center. I had a big chance to learn from the local communities. They taught me a lot as someone who had never been to Alaska before. But I also had the chance to go to the Tern Festival, which was a small festival all about the tern. And I actually had to fly out to this very small town, city would be generous, this small town that's only accessible by plane. And I actually had a chance to speak with this bird photographer, and he's actually really good friends with Scott, who helped us band birds during training. So it was really interesting to see how the birding community is all connected and getting to learn more about birders and their passions. And I also had a chance to do a lot of daily programs during my days at the visitor center. There's 4 main programs that I established all on my own. Well, with a lot of help, but I wrote them all myself. And so the first one I did very often was the map talk. This takes place around this 3D interactive map in the visitor center, and it's themed around migration, whether that be birds, salmon, or the mining history, all within the park. The next one is a ranger talk all about owls and their special adaptations and talking about some of the unique owl species you might see here in Ringgold St. Elias. I also did a boreal forest walk, which was a shorter hike around the visitor center, and I talked about how the boreal forest is really important for birds and their migrations and how they're so deeply intertwined. And lastly, I developed 2 different pop-up programs. The first one was a salmon dissection where I made this salmon felt sort of plushy, and it had removable organs inside, and I used it to kind of teach about the different organs and the adaptations that make salmon really unique and special. And then the last one was the bird trivia. It was modeled after the one provided by EFTA, but I remade it to be birds specific to the Ringgold St. Elias region, so I could make it something more unique to Ringgold St. Elias and teach some people about some birds they may have never heard of before. In total, I had about 8,432 visitors at the visitor center on the days that I worked. In total, I had 147 people at 18 events and 151 people at 23 programs. Though that seems like kind of a small number, we are the 7th least visited national park, so that makes it really difficult, and we're also pretty remote from Anchorage. It's about a 4-hour drive, so a lot of people, when they come into the visitor center, they're like, I had no idea there was even a national park here. I just stopped to use the bathroom, and then they find out that the most giant national park is right there next to them. And so it's really interesting to see that we're such a unique and remote national park, but we get such a wide variety of visitors from, I counted at least 28 different countries, but my coworkers talk about how they've seen much, much more than that. So it's really interesting to see how we get local individuals coming in to get their fishing and hunting permits, or people coming to finish all 63 national parks. I just had someone who was just their last national park that they came to visit. Or there's just people who stumble in accidentally. So you never know what you're going to get. I think there's, okay, thank you. Not lastly, next, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the challenges I experienced while working here. I experienced a lot of insecurity, and I feel like I've heard this echoed a lot through other interns' presentations, and it's a big and difficult part of this, especially coming into something where I knew very little about fish and fishing in general. It kind of seems like a lot of people had one or the other, so learning how to navigate that was really difficult, but it was really, really stressful for me because I was coming to a new and unfamiliar place. I had really had big dreams of coming to Alaska, but I knew very little about it. And I was 3,000 miles away from home where I knew no one. And that was really difficult to manage, learning a lot about a new area and not having anyone to sort of mentor me in that one on one. And then also having 19 hours of light was really weird, having to wear a sleep mask that had this weird little thing that covered any light that could possibly bleed in because it was just so bright even when there was sunset. That was really difficult. And then also, like I mentioned before, but I just want to really highlight it, the periods of low visitation could be difficult because there's times in the visitor center where there is not a single visitor. You kind of are just waiting for someone, or there's times where there's no one to go to your program. So it's kind of difficult to do the things you want to do when there's no one to do them with. And then lastly, this was also difficult navigating as someone who had never worked a 40 full-time 40-hour job, is learning how to work with type Bs as a type A, learning how to navigate working with different people who work differently from you. And neither of us are wrong, neither of us are right, but it's just learning how to manage different styles. And then finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about my key takeaways. I really loved how this national park is so community driven and how a lot of times people will come in and they'll know the ranger's working, or they just have these conversations because they're so intertwined, but also being able to talk to people who are coming and trying to visit all the national parks and having this unity through nature and how community driven these national parks can be. I also think it's really interesting to make the distinction between park and preserve and how unique this national park is for having that difference between park and preserve. And it's not only this national park, Ringgold St. Elias, but it's a lot of parks in Alaska as well, and how unique Alaska can be for that. I also think I learned a lot about my love for science education, especially with kids. My pop-up program with bird trivia, I actually had this really unique and special interaction with this young girl. It sticks with me every day. She was so in love with the bird trivia. She finished it. She did it again. She grabbed her family, made all her family do it, and she was so in love with finding out all this new information that she had no idea. And it was so special to have an interaction like that because I wanted one, but I didn't know if I'd get one. So it was really special. And then I also learned a lot about how unique Alaska is and how much there is to learn. This one national park does not represent the whole of Alaska. It's insane how huge this place is and how much there is to see and how little I feel I've seen, and how I'll definitely be coming back to experience more of it. And then lastly, learning how to not fear change. I went through a lot of change on my road to getting to Alaska. I was studying abroad, and then I went home to LA for a day, and then I went to Rocky Mountain for a week, and then I went to Alaska. That was 4 different time zones in the span of like a week. So my mind was everywhere, and there was so much going on in my life. And I was really scared and really anxious for it all. But in the end, I kind of found comfort in that loneliness and that unknown. And I'm sure a lot more changes coming in my future going into my senior year of college. So I'm learning to kind of embrace that more and not letting it consume me. Yeah, and lastly, I just want to thank everyone at EFTA, especially Claudia, being my mentor and taking the time for talking with me when I had my concerns and just random questions and random things to talk about. I had some really special times with all the interns, but especially I want to shout out Annika, Jen, Dara, and Malia. I really had special bonds with them, and it was always so nice knowing that there's people out there who are experiencing similar things as me that I could always talk to if I needed to. And lastly, the worst team on earth. They have been incredible and super welcoming, and I really want to thank Margie and Sarah who are here, and also Sunny who can't be here, but they have been so special and so warm to me and have really made this internship that much better. So thank you.
Great presentation, Amaya. We're all super proud of everything you've done and learned, and yeah, thanks so much for sharing. Great job, everybody. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Jose, who is going to present some final awards we have.
I think before we get that going, we have Susan here. Susan, do you want to say anything? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. I'm so excited to get to watch some of the presentations, and it takes me back to my early days in the field. So I love seeing what you've all done. It's, you're gonna be as old as I am someday, and you're gonna look back on it and think, wow, that was just amazing. I wish I could go back there and do that again. Because you don't always get a chance to do those sorts of things when you spend more time in front of the computer. But I love what you did. We so appreciate your good work. I hope you know that the Fish and Feathers program is always a real success, and it's a success because of the enthusiasm that you all bring to the program. I mean, it really has gotten known for that, and other, you probably don't know this, but other groups are looking at it as a model. So, we've been approached by the Fish and Wildlife Service to do something similar, and it's because they hear about your work and what you're doing on the ground to engage communities and people and bring them to fishing and birding and other activities on public lands. So I hope you're really proud of what you contributed and really look forward to what you do in the future. As a final note, we love to hear from you. I know it gets busy and it gets hard, but we are here for all of you later. We love hearing from you. Some of our former interns are now employed in different places, including with federal agencies. They are now becoming supervisors themselves. And so if you need anything from us, like letters of recommendation, we're here to do that. Just advice, we're here to do that. Or you just want to say hi and give us an update about where you are in life, we also love that. So best of luck to you all. And again, congratulations on a great job this summer.
Thank you, Susan. Yes, and so before we get to this other fun little thing, I want to remind you all, make sure you work on your PLCs, a little business talk. Make sure you work on your PLCs, and also you submit all of your programs and events to our form. And so, but with that being said, we have a couple of awards. Y'all did such an amazing job at all of this. I have to say, this cohort feels like that you are all so supportive of each other, and I can definitely tell that compared to other years. So, I know that you all are very supportive and helpful too. So, with that being said, we have a couple of awards, and so let me present those real quick. Uh, let's see. Maybe you can see this. Share. Oop. That's background. Well, I am not sure how I can do that. Give me a second. Chat amongst yourselves. Yes. Okay, so just a couple of awards. Some people that really stood out. Some people who did above and beyond in the blogs. I just want to say thank you and give you a little bit of a certificate. So, first for blogs, someone who did over what we asked for. So, Sarah, this one is for you for best blog content. So much information, so many great blogs. I think you ended up doing 10. Um, plus overall, all of the things that you did for your internship and the growth that you did over this couple of months was just astonishing. So, here's one of your certificates.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. The other one is for Dara, another for the best blogs. Also, a lot of really great blogs, really great information. Always so much fun stuff in there. So thank you for making all these blogs, and thank you for all the hard work that you did.
Thank you.
And then a couple of overall internship experience. This one goes out to Sawyer. I hope she's here. Sawyer did an amazing job. As y'all saw from her presentation, her park was huge. There was like a limited amount of folks there, and she just kind of ran around and did such an amazing job. So overall, um, big thank you to Sawyer for doing such an amazing job. And we recognize you this way. And then the other one will be Gabriel. Gabriel, thank you so much. This being your first internship, you did an amazing job. You traveled the distance, you grew, you learned. So thank you so much. So we'll send this over to you and we'll send them to your supervisors. But that's all I have for today. And again, Kayla said something very special about how when she was talking to one of the presentations that she was doing, making the impact on those kids. You guys aren't kids, but this is how we all feel about it. How you are all we're planting seeds so that you can go and talk to people. And now we're kind of doing that where you all are talking to those folks. And so um, that's exactly how we feel, like making those points of contacts and that growth. And so thank you so much for doing such a great job. I'll let anybody else from the EFTA team speak. Otherwise, that's all I have.
I'll just echo what Jose said. We're all really proud of each one of you. I remember the first day picking everybody up from the airport. Althea had to ride with Stephanie and me and Catherine. And then we got there, everyone a little unsure, a little nervous, but y'all really blossomed over that week. And then to have these 3 days of presentations and see everything you're able to accomplish and all the challenges you overcame and things that you did and how you're going to take this experience forward is really, really awesome to see and makes us all really happy. And we're just so proud of each one of you. So, yeah, like Jose said, stay in touch and keep us updated along your path. Yeah, we're behind y'all all the way.
I agree. You all did an amazing job. I want to congratulate you all on your success throughout this Fish and Feathers program. You all challenged yourself to step out of your comfort zones and took advantage of the opportunities around you and really just got an immersive experience and saw so many different opportunities and areas within the Park Service. So we are all so proud of you and we thank you all for doing a great job this summer. And also, we wish you the best moving forward. So again, please keep in touch and feel free to reach out. You guys have one more week, so give it the best week you got.
I'll just say a final few words. Hi, everyone. It was so lovely to see all of your presentations and so happy to have been a part of your journey and met you and then see all of your growth. I know you're all going to do amazing, so I'm just excited to hopefully stay in touch and see what you do next. Thank you all so much for your contribution. You made each one of your parks better. Um, so proud of you. Good job. That's all. Have a good one.
I'll add one more thing before everybody goes. I just want to thank the EFTA team for all the amazing work. This is a great program, but it's also a lot of background work, getting your workshop ready, doing all the recruitment, bringing you all together at your parks, working with your supervisors. There's a lot of things that happen that you may not even ever hear about, but I just want to congratulate Stephanie, Jose, Claudia, Stephanie Darden, Stephanie Laredo, both on a really excellent job guiding you through your internship. So thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you all so much. We'll see you around.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Great
You're
job,
welcome. Yeah.
everybody.